Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, October 7th. We're on the Asian account to do that Tavern Brawl. And let's see, we've got one that is an easy choice here. Win 2 games with the Priest, not something that we want to focus on. Win 2 games of any class, a lot better than that. Otherwise, we just have to take 30 turns, deal 65 damage, things that are easy enough to get all 3 of today's daily quests done. So this is the last time we'll be doing the 6-shooter quests, so all we really need to do is think about what would be about the most annoying thing you could possibly do here. Let's go with secrets. Let's see what we could do. Like, explosive trap would be super annoying. This would be super annoying. This would be super annoying. If we control a secret, summon 2 hyenas. There's one option there. Weapon with that. What I really want though is play all your secrets on the field. Is that something that the Paladin does? Yeah, I think that's something that the Paladin does. Yeah. Let's see. So, do I want to get rid of misdirection and have one more character on the field, or is there perhaps a better secret worth playing? 3-1-1. That is probably better than what we have. Yeah, okay, let's see how well this plays. It probably won't play too well. Had a slow start on today's stream because YouTube decided to change the URL to my chat for what seems like no reason. It seems like they're just gonna keep on doing this over and over again to annoy people. I spent the entire week scheduling videos, so I'm up to the point where I could take some extra time now and start using the U uploader program and see if that is really going to be a replacement for me and in any way be helpful. If I'm going to have to reprogram some of that to make it work well and upload everything I want it to, figure out how to compile a Java file if I do add a few bits of code into it. Let's see. So yeah, the victory is yours. Well, that's an easy victory. Let's try this again. See, I know getting 2 victories with any class probably doesn't qualify for doing the solo player expansion. I don't know if dealing damage or taking turns qualifies in that. I think they don't either, so you are in this weird position where it seems like the only daily quest that isn't specific to actually doing a solo adventure centers around the concept of having to play in ranked play or in Tavern Brawls or in something besides the solo adventure stuff. which is just no good, because if I really am going to get all these daily quests done and have a bunch of extra time, which I probably will never have a bunch of extra time, now would be a decent time to go and try and do the solo Tombs of Terror expansion, or even some of the older expansions on the Asian account. But the good news is I'm fairly certain that the next the European account does have a daily quest that revolves around defeating 3 bosses in the Tombs of Terror, and I knew I'd run into at least one of those daily quests. Yeah. But in my process of uploading videos to YouTube, it's just obnoxiously, constantly demanding that I go to the YouTube beta, and it's like you're on the video editor. The video editor literally can do the thing I needed to do, which is I needed to sort by upload, so I see it in the order that the videos have been uploaded, because I spend the extra effort to make sure the videos come in a episodic nature via upload, and I needed to filter down to private videos only, and it just won't do that. It just doesn't in YouTube beta, YouTube Studio beta. It is so obnoxious and so stupid of them to put out this new version in an incomplete format and just say, too bad, this is what you're going to use. And this is constantly a problem with software in total. Like, this happens all the time, that new versions are way worse than the old versions just because there's somebody who was in charge of the program originally and cared about it, now has been replaced by some new person that has to put their mark on it, wants to make changes, has to justify their job somehow, or there's some internal background reason that has no legitimacy to the end user at all as to why the software would be changing. And it's really just unacceptably a bad situation. It's just so awful. If it was a finished product, if everybody loved it, if even 50% of the people loved it, that would be great. Even if everybody hated it and it was a finished product, it would be a different thing. But it's totally not a finished product. I can't get the playlists from the studio beta. I can't get the end screens. I can't get the card screens. All of that stuff is not been improved at all, which just implies to me all of that stuff is going to be deprecated for the vast majority of YouTube users and given only to the elite class of people that aren't even using the YouTube website at all. Let's get away from this then. We got our victory. My strategy seems like it would work, but maybe take way too long. And I know I'm just kind of going on a rant here, but it is the #1 software YouTube forces us all to deal with to have any kind of semblance. And you know what occurred to me is I don't think I've been using the hashtags at all. So I don't even know if the default uploads for a long time have been even doing default hashtags. Because I know at one point I had some default hashtags and I had changed the hashtag to Hearthstone for Hearthstone videos, but that's kind of it. And yeah, the description box in general for my channel has gotten a little inconsistent and a little messy as we're moving over to the RTX 2080 description for all new games as hardware, and just getting rid of Google Plus as a link since that goes nowhere. I would keep the Google Plus link there if it actually just forwarded to the YouTube channel, but it doesn't. Which that's really just a great example of Google, in this case, damaging the internet by deleting links and deleting services, but that's the dead web in a nutshell, to coin a phrase. Like, the internet of a few years ago, totally different than the internet of today. Things die and go away all the time. Like, I was questioning whether I should try and see if I could hop into an internet relay chat forum for an old dead software project and see if people are actually still chatting on it. And maybe just the website itself had been abandoned, or mostly abandoned.
This was not in my contract.
Let's see. But as I was scheduling, I did get to spend the entire week not talking too much, which is good. My voice needed it. Of course, nothing's gonna solve that way too much. I should probably learn and do some vocal exercises, if in all actuality. But that's unlikely to happen.
Why do you war?
Let's see.
As you command.
Sure, send the little guy.
There we go. I think we got a victory next turn. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to say, is it really? Like, I've gotten everything so set up right now that the only thing I'm struggling with is finding the right way to encode videos so that they'll stream to my Vizio TV more than anything else. It seems like it will take MP3 or AAC audio. It seems like it'll take MPEG 2, MP4 video. So I'm getting down to the point where I think very possibly the reason why it's not working is that I've got things at the wrong frame rate. So a standardized just NTSC frame rate is probably what they wanted at, instead of even like a 30 frames per second more computer frame rate, which NTSC is like 29.37 frames per second. It's an odd number. And my only other thought is that it either has to be specifically at 1920 by 1080, where some of them were slightly below that, or perhaps it's just a streaming part where it needs to actually be at 720 because the speed's just not fast enough. Could also be that it's just my software is misconfigured, and that very possibly is the case. So I'm trying to encode these videos for maximum compatibility for DLNA, which is a pretty old system at this point, and the only advantage it has is that it is still the standard system to, if you're going to try and stream content without making a Plex server, and then if you make a Plex server, you run into a whole bunch of other problems, but maybe the Plex server really is just the more... Well, the Plex server is an open source, is the main problem with it. So it tries to sell you things, I think. But if you were just going to install a Plex server pre-built image on a Raspberry Pi, that probably is the easiest way to stream music and videos, and then you'd have to plug in an external hard drive into the Raspberry Pi to get the content of any real size. And inherently with that, you could only plug in at most 4 you could only at most plug in 4 USB devices reasonably. You really couldn't put a hub on it and get decent speeds. So even if you had like a 12 terabyte hard drive times 4, you're limiting yourself to a maximum of 48 terabytes on this Raspberry Pi, which 48 terabytes is a large amount, no doubt, but when you start thinking about movies, and inherently, like, I have probably, I would say, at least 500 anime DVDs. I would never bother to go and scan those, or get them in some other form or fashion on my server. Anything I have on DVD or Blu-ray, I kind of, fingers crossed, hoping against disc rot, assume that I already have that. Like, it's the things that I mostly want in digital forms are things that are either so precious that it would be almost impossible to replace them, or so rare that it was impossible to get them in any form other than digital. Things that are not ever going to come on anything like Amazon Prime or Netflix, which Amazon Prime and Netflix really gets rid of the need to stream any of your own home content, unless you've just been doing it for years and you have a really curated collection of your favorites.
Your soul shall be mine.
But almost every true fan of movies, TVs, or music, you kind of want something on your shelf to show off. You want something physical to hold in your hands. This is the new generation of vinyl sounds better than CD, which may arguably be true, but vinyl certainly I don't think would sound better than a Blu-ray. If you were going to make a Blu-ray audio file standard, which they kind of de facto do, they just make a regular Blu-ray and then play audio out of it. Without even making a new standard.
This was not in my contract. Do I have to?
Job done.
So yeah, there's a ever decreasing reason. Now DLNA sharing photos is an interesting thing because it's not like photo collections exist as a product too much. With the exception of Shutterstock existing, there really isn't a lot of photo collections out there that anybody would want, other than their own personal photos, and then that's where DLNA seems to work perfectly on my software, and if you have good organization, having those in a digital format is almost certainly better than anything you can have otherwise. You're just not going to be able to keep print photos or negatives in good condition for as long as you theoretically could keep on a digital format, as long as you've got like it on some kind of server that backs up to another server, and then 10 years long that server gets replaced and gets backed up to another server. You can just, exact perfect copies can be made. So in theory, if everything goes right, these images could stay in existence forever.
No, no, no.
Plus, your personal photos are really things that nobody else is going to have. So that's a good use for it. And then music, well, Spotify still costs money. And Spotify, I believe, is probably the industry standard right now of what you would do for streaming music. You can certainly have your music, I think, on Google Play Music still, but they've kind of de-emphasized having your own music in favor of forcing you to buy music. You can certainly go to YouTube and look up any individual song you want, but you're not going to get any kind of collection that way unless you make a custom playlist of songs. So the idea of being able to stream music, mostly MP3s, which MP3s are rather old, but there hasn't been a massive adaptation of FLAC files. I still don't think, even with Android 10 or even the latest version of iOS, I still don't think we're at that point where FLAC files just play. So that was the one card I didn't want to lose, but whatever. The adoption of FLAC files should be the next big thing, but there's a lot of lost emphasis on stuff like that. And the new Wi-Fi standards really haven't added anything as far as services like that. They're trying to stay out of that because, let's face it, universal plug and play, which is what DLNA was built upon, as I understand it, was a security nightmare. So they're just focusing on security and not services. And the easiest thing they could have done is they could have just all adopted wire networking and just put a folder out there. Here's a folder of files, access it and go. If anything, now it should be like a instituted HTML5 experience where there's just a default HTML5 style streaming page that people and devices can go to on every device. But putting a web server and everything is going to be incredibly insecure too. So yeah, in all honesty, my videos, I said I had like 500 anime DVDs. I have like five MP4s, MPEG-2s videos. That's kind of it. That's all that I really want it to be. Even that is taking a lot more space than I care for it, because my backup server is not intended to just be this general purpose media server flooded with information or movies or TVs. Frankly, I'm only putting things on there that I watch at least once a year, and that is an extremely short list. Since I did spend most of the weekend, and I'm not talking about video game stuff here, I'm just talking about myself, whether people like that or not, whatever. By the way, videos are going to, starting in November, start airing at incredibly different times. I know Insomnia gives no consistency for these live streams, but you're gonna see 4 o'clock Central Time airings of one series, and then a couple hours later you're gonna see like 10 in the morning Central Time airings. So you're more than likely gonna wake up if you're subscribed to me, and there will be a video waiting for you when you wake up. That's the intention. The only thing that is staying even slightly consistent is the Hearthstone stream times. and even that is changing, I think, a little bit from the 45s to the 30 minutes. This is all based on just experimentation, and what TubeBuddy says is that you should be in the early time. It is pretty true that when I wake up in the morning and I look at the videos to see on my subscription feed, there kind of is nothing, so it probably would help my channel to be the first option and the only option. Get in early. It gives you all day to potentially watch it if you don't have a lot of subscriptions. It also opens up the door, though, that if you do have a lot of subscriptions, you're not going to actually be capable of seeing my videos, because they'll just be so down your list of subscriptions, depending on how many subscriptions you have. I don't think most people have too many subscriptions. I have a pretty large amount, but a lot of them don't actually have anything on a daily basis. And when you look at like PewDiePie, he barely puts something out once or twice a week. So there's something to be said around that idea too. When you get bigger, is like YouTube has certainly trained people to not put out subscriptions if you're big, because you just lose subscribers. Let's go and squelch this guy. Let's see. How many demons do I control? None? So, yeah. I lost my train of thought there. Yeah. I was talking about how the schedule's going to be different, the times are going to be different. I think we're going to go back to on the hour. And just to make things easier, I don't think it matters one bit. I think the amount of notifications that get pushed out has very little to do with the peak hours as much as it has to do with the algorithm and the newly admitted to system where they specifically only put out 3 notifications per day at most. So also by separating the videos out by a couple hours, maybe that will jump past any notification barrier list. Almost certainly, if they just now admitted that they were limiting the number of notifications they were putting out per channel, they're almost certainly also limiting the notifications they give out per user, which is to say, if 5 different channels that you're subscribed to all put something out at noon, I bet you only get 3 of those notifications at most. I almost guarantee that's what happens, because I've never seen anything like that. Although I'm not really signed up to get all notifications for everybody anyways. Like, with the exception of my own channel, I'm not signed up really to get notifications for anything consistently. And I get a decent amount, but not a ridiculously large amount. Let's just try Mech Hunter. Why not? I think I'm gonna play this one game and I'll be done, and we haven't even covered the news yet. But yeah. Before that, I was talking about the number of videos I'm trying to get streamed. It's really just five movie length videos. Well, actually, one of them's not even movie length videos. One of them's just like a 30-minute or hour-long TV episode. But that's pretty much it. Like, so even at that using Handbrake, which frankly I'm not used to using Handbrake. I'm struggling with it to get it to do what I think it's supposed to, what I think I'm telling it to do in some cases. It's got a lot of, at least the Linux version I have installed, it's got a lot of room for different options all over the place. And it's not as simple as just choosing a standard profile, or at least I don't know what the standard profile I should choose is. So let's go ahead and start covering the news. We don't even have a lot of news. Like, today is Monday. Yeah. Like, basically nothing happened in... well, either that, or I've got somebody else on my Twitter feed, or I've done something to my Twitter feed with all the ad blocking and removing of elements. That might be the case. Like, I may have just mutilated my Twitter feed to the point where I'm not seeing all the what's on Steam tweets, but I'm definitely seeing a lot of them. So, like, I can already see the beginning of the end here. So if I start covering, if I start talking about the news, we'll be done potentially in one episode. I need to break up episodes a little bit more. That is another thought. I am thinking that at some point I may stop airing Hearthstones on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and shift it to just airing on Saturday and Sunday. That'd be a little weird. It would be potentially, at that point, no longer a issue of me really breaking things up, which I've never really been good about doing that. So, yeah, if instead of breaking up episodes, I would just, every Monday would be an episode for 3 hours. Every Wednesday would be a single episode for 3 hours. Every Friday would be an episode. That would give me a very consistent one extra video to move it further and further ahead in time. And it would reduce the number of things airing on the weekdays, which is kind of what we need, because if I want to play a point-and-click adventure game, a AAA game, and a Lego game at the same time, which is where I was at one point, like before I got a little exhausted and overworked, I was doing things like that, where there was 3 games plus Hearthstone airing on my channel. There's been times, I think, where I've had 4 or 5 games airing on my channel at the same time. Like, that doesn't work with the new realization that definitely after the 3rd series, nothing else was getting notifications. If I leave things as they are, I'm just admitting that the Hearthstone episodes, which never get any views, are never going to get any views even more. Which in all actuality, the only reason why the Hearthstone episodes keep going is because I just want that number to keep climbing up. It's just a good resume builder. It looks nicer to say that you had this channel that produced a daily or week daily syndicated or episodic series, and you got up to episode 2000, which honestly, episode 2000 is not an unreasonable number to reach by the end of, at least I'd say probably halfway through next year as far as Hearthstone episodes. I also went through the playlists and did some cleanup. Some of the playlists I had were just for videos of one. That's getting a little ridiculous. I did have this idea, but it would require some background work. This is something I would I would have an employee do. Like theoretically, it'd be something I'd say an intern would do, but apparently it's illegal to make interns do anything that would actually profit the company in any way. Which seems odd, because that seems like that's exactly what happens all the time. Like... So, what I've decided to do is, starting now, all new series will have an extra tag in the tags. That is, I just arbitrarily made up a tag at then the capital letter of whatever its title is. So, in the example of the Binding of Isaac, we'll do the library thing and drop the and then put B for Binding of Isaac. And so it would be at capital B at, put that tag in there. Why am I doing that? Because unfortunately the playlist systems of the playlist options and features for YouTube is pretty bad, but it does have the ability to auto-generate playlists based on a tag. So I can make a series playlist where it's just all the games starting with the letter A in alphabetical order, which one would hope that just alphabetical order would also work perfectly fine. Almost certainly I never uploaded two things with the letter A or B or C at the same time, but it's possible it did. But I'd have to retroactively add those tags to all my other series, which would mean basically going through all of the playlists and adding that tag to all the old videos, and so that's not something that I would be willing to do right now. And honestly, it probably just trades the current playlist page, which is a little bit better, for something that's a little bit worse. But I think we probably will need to get to that. What we really need is nested playlists. If I could make a playlist of just all the games, all the playlists of games that start with the letter A, that would be way better than trying to work my way around it. Unfortunately, there's just not a good way to fix the system until YouTube actually fixes their systems and adds better labeling and such. Well, that's it for the Asian account. Let's move over to the Americas account. And I don't think we're breaking up today because I've been stretching this out, but there's really nothing new to talk about. And I don't know what happened here. I don't think I curated any of the games that came out. Alright. So we have Hunter class cards, Paladin class cards, and then defeat 3 Tombs of Terror bosses. And so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do this and hope that helps in any way, but it probably won't.
Fire, madness,
and after 3 bosses, I think that's all I'm gonna put the effort into.
Explorers to me.
So
a plague of murlocs
this guy's dead.
From this ruined city. Everyone
This guy's
who ventures
dead.
across this desert, we
This
are ready to
guy's
take
dead.
on the tomb now.
This guy's
Halls of
dead.
origination.
This
The final
guy's
plague
dead.
lord is Rafam's
Oh yeah,
right-hand
because I
henchman,
beat all of
Takan.
this.
Our only chance to defeat him is to work together.
Well, then seriously, the only thing I could do is go to like heroic. Let's see, can we defeat 3 heroic plague bosses? Where are we with this?
A splendid day for an adventure.
So you have to start completely over if you would want to, wow, that was weird. Can just fell over. Must have been precariously tilted. Alright, so what's the goal of Heroic? Let's see. That's the question. Complete all the chapters in Heroic mode, earn this card back. So, in theory, we would go here. Well, actually, let's just see if we can get an armor that would help in any way. Deal 1 damage to all minions at the start of every turn. I don't think that would help me in the long run. That'd be too difficult to control. So you're in this weird position where you have to start all over again, and if you want the card back, the only thing that would make sense would be to just play as Sir Finley, which is the one I had the most success with. Spend what I imagine I spent about 20 hours in total trying to do all of this stuff, and that wasn't particularly fun. A fun 20 hours. So I'd probably have to spend another 20 to 40 hours doing this, and then I'd get a card back, which is not really much of a reward. And if I didn't have this daily quest, I'd never bother to even try.
This city is ours.
Okay. Whenever you summon a minion, he gets that, so.
That one? Okay.
Whenever you summon a minion, gain +1 attack. So let's, I guess, just go through the news, because I don't think there's anything else to say here. Well, if we defeat 3 bosses, that'll just be it. Like, I'm not gonna bother to try and go all the way with this. Almost certainly I would just fail miserably, even if I tried. There's some stuff I watched on Netflix as I'm stalling here over the weekend. I was very surprised that Creeped Out got a season 2. It's a somewhat British, but not super British. So I don't even know if it is British at all. Horror series that centers, it's like an Are You Afraid of the Dark type series. It centers, I could have maybe one just then. It centers around technology sometimes, or most of the time, I would say. So the first episode of season 2 was a kid that was playing a just horribly animated, awful looking game online, like an MMO, and he started off playing with his friends, and that was like, okay, yeah, you're being sociable, you're hanging out with your friends, and then it eventually devolved down into he was just playing with one person he knew online, and every time he played, more and more time in his life would just disappear. He would just have straight up amnesia. He was apparently still living his life because everybody else was remembering that he was doing things, but he certainly wasn't remembering that he had lived his life. And at the end, he jumps like a full 5 years into the future, and he's like getting his math finals, and he doesn't remember anything at all. He's like, I don't know any of this. And certainly there's some of that hits close to home. There's some truth to that. It being obsessive about anything. I don't want to use the gaming addiction phrase, but being obsessive and compulsive about any one thing and it interfering with your life is a bit of a problem. Now, I think there is a bit of a argument that could be made here that children's lives are necessarily organized by society and their parents more than their own decisions. So, like, when your life as a kid by default is you have to go to school and you have to do what all these adults do, and if that's just not what you want for your life, yeah, I can understand a increased reason and wanting to check out of that kind of lifestyle or not be involved in that type of lifestyle. In the same way that society tells adults that they have to work jobs, and most people, I think deep down in their hearts, don't really want to work a job, particularly if the job is unfulfilling and something they're not interested in. So everybody has a arguably way too long of a list of things that society forces them into. So it's a shame that people don't have the freedom to choose their own lifestyle and destiny. It's no longer a case where you can just get on the back of a horse and move west and start a farm and just take care of yourself and live by your own choices. But yeah, certainly it is a problem if you are ever playing a video game and then you forget parts of your life that occur when you're not playing a video game. It would be a problem regardless, video game not included. If you're forgetting major sections, if you're blacking out major sections of your life, that's probably a problem. Maybe not as much as you would think, though, because people remember their childhood, adults remember their childhood, but they don't remember, at least most people don't remember 18 years straight of it. They remember the impactful things and forget the other things, and that's just good memory management on the part of the human brain. But if your actions are being antisocial, I guess that's really a good indicator, is that if you are forgetting things you shouldn't forget, that obviously you shouldn't forget, if you're acting differently and antisocial, you've probably entered the realm where your ingestment of video games has become problematic for you, and you need to either reduce it or completely remove it from your life. Of course, that gives a lot of ammo to the video game haters out there, that same pearl clutching people that say all video games are bad for everybody. It's like, no, not really.
talking Murloc. Were you cursed?
the opposite argument to an episode like this, and yes, this is for kids, and this is just, these are all going to be moral plays that Creeped Out is basically just all moral plays. The opposite argument to that, certainly though, is that if you in modern time are not playing video games, you are not doing well by your friends, and you are not being a normal child. You just aren't. The vast majority of kids play some kind of video games. You need to know the basic references for your age group. If there is a 9-year-old out there that doesn't know what Fortnite is, that 9-year-old is not doing right by himself, or his parents aren't doing right by him, because he should know what Fortnite is. Even if his response is, "Oh, my parents don't let me play Fortnite," that's still probably a little bit weird, but at least it's understandable. But if it's like, "Oh, my parents don't let me play any video games," or "Oh, I don't play any video games," you're a weirdo at that point by modern standards. This wasn't true in the 90s particularly. It wasn't really true in the 70s or 80s for sure. But at this point, you're straight up not normal if you don't play some kind of video game, even if you're just playing a bunch of free-to-play things. Like, any of those would be reasonable. But there should be something, and same is true for YouTube. If you're a kid and you haven't seen at least a few YouTube videos at 9 years old, like, what are you, Amish at that point? That's the default insult that you're gonna get against your kids. So yeah, some of the other episodes of Creeped Out, I liked Creeped Out, really. I like season 1. It's not really trying to be groundbreaking genius TV or anything. It's just a more modern take on Are You Afraid of the Dark, moral plays. I would say Are You Afraid of the Dark and the other one with the Midnight Society, which I can't remember the name of. Both of those series were Goosebumps, yeah. Like, both Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark were more around just telling, like, a horror story where something horrific happened for very little reason. In a lot of cases, there wasn't really a moral play on it, where Creeped Out is mostly trying to tell moral plays, and particularly around the overuse of technology, which gets shown a lot. But like there was another episode where it was the first girl on an all-guy wrestling team, which, like, at best I could describe the actress that they had there as a very flat-chested, maybe 14-year-old. She looked a little too tall, though, to have not at least started to go through puberty, and I just feel like they really didn't think that through. Like, at no point do I think I would... Anybody who wasn't potentially just a raging equity, or a believer, yeah, equity would be the right phrase. Somebody who just would push the narrative that we shouldn't have split sports teams at all. I don't know how they thought this through. Like, a bunch of teenage boys groping, grappling, and wrestling of
Pop up. Cover.
a girl seems like
I don't mind this whole
this
traveling
is not
merchant.
something that any of the
It's
teachers would
kinda
have
quaint.
ever allowed. It doesn't seem like any of the school systems would ever allow that. I just don't believe this would ever happen. And it's as much about the boys as it is about the girl, and the girl too. Like she's groping and grappling and wrestling the guys too, and they show several wrestling things, and I'm like, I bet the actresses weren't right. But the actors weren't super comfortable with this. These are teenage actors, maybe playing a little bit younger, but that's kind of it. And it really, I'm gonna spoil the ending here. It really just played around this idea that was kind of obvious, and some of the endings are kind of obvious. Some of them not so much, which is nice for a kid show.
Quite the pickle.
We'll choose this enemy, add him to adventure deck, and a weapon would not be a bad idea. Let's see. Do I want to remove a friendly minion? Yeah.
Makes
We'll
sense.
remove that.
Sometimes less is more. Take care. It was good seeing you.
So yeah, the big twist is that the girl turns into a boy due to a series of effects, and that's really where it just ends. It doesn't go any deeper. It just is like, oh, the girl actress is replaced with a male actress, and then you see it, and then jumps shock scare, and that's the end of the episode. It was not well thought out. It was certainly, the wrestling part was kind of trying to show that the female main character had tactics in wrestling, which I'm sure there are a lot of tactics in wrestling. And I don't mean WWE wrestling here. I mean, actually athletic wrestling. She had tactics. She lost those tactics in favor of strength and a desire for just more and more strength. And I feel like you could have easily rewritten this where it was a speed or relay race. But I don't even know how you would want to do it there. Perhaps not be so on the nose and just focus on the one sport. Perhaps if you had fleshed out the character more and shown that she just wants to be stronger for multiple reasons, that would be better. Another episode had a student in a military school, and I found that kind of weird to have kids in a military school doing military drills of like climbing over rope nets and crawling under camouflage and going through tunnels and things like that. That probably would have been a smarter move for the wrestling. But yeah, that whole story was weird, and I guess the moral of it was don't follow up on chain letters.
Who are we hitting today?
Is the basic part of it, because it was a chain letter or chain text that caused all the things to happen. There was another episode that was way more simplistic, where it was just like, don't push all the buttons on an elevator, otherwise you're going to end up in a nexus point of multiple dimensions with a monster in there. Frankly, that was a direct rip-off of a Doctor Who episode. So it was a fine episode, but it certainly wasn't special in any way. It was more horrific than moral play, and I think the creeped out episodes do better. I'm watching still a little bit of Eurovision. Eurovision it's a singing show, so that's not really anything on Netflix this great. I watched or fast forward through a couple horror movies. It is October, so you gotta get your annual dose of horror movies in there if you can. Let's see. And you want to kill something? I don't think any of the horror movies I watched though were of any real interest. I just fast forwarded through them. Like I watched one where ghosts were actually helping defeat some other ghosts, which that's slightly interesting. But not huge.
Job's done.
So half of his health and half of his hand and maybe half of his deck. That's interesting.
Well met.
Yeah. Yeah, if I had a daughter, I would even if I had a daughter who was really interested in wrestling, I would not let her. I would say, frankly, and here's why I'd probably be a bad parent. If I had a daughter and she was interested in wrestling, I'd say, hey, if you want to grope the guys, why don't you do that in private? That's not in front of everybody. Being exhibitionist at your young age is not going to work out well for you. Like, that's straight up my response there. Like, I'd be perfectly happy if you want to just wrestle people in your own bedroom. Clothes on, clothes off. That's still better than actually getting into a very physically dangerous sport where a bunch of adults are going to be watching you wrestle guys, and the guys are going to grope you. So whether it's intentional or not, you are going to get groped. Even the guys on guys are groping each other, and that's why most guys at that age wouldn't even want to be in wrestling. I honestly believe that anybody that is into wrestling is either attempting to grope other guys or specifically getting pushed into it by parents that wish they were on like football or basketball or some other sports, but for some reason realized that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I would not want. If I was the father of a boy that wanted to wrestle, I wouldn't also. I'd probably tell him the exact same thing. It's like, hey, if you want to wrestle guys, why don't you can do that in your own bedroom, clothes on, clothes off, but you really shouldn't do it in front of other people. You will grope other guys. They will grope you if that's what you're looking for. I'm fine. Maybe I'd be too much of a hippy-dippy parent in that instance, but like the worst part of that in my mind, the biggest concern is the fact that you're doing it out in public, and you're kind of trying to inflict pain and potentially even inflict damage on people, which is just in my mind not what wrestling should be. Even the fake WWE wrestling, if it could be 100% safe, I would be a lot happier with it. I'm sure most WWE wrestlers also would be a lot happier with it if it was 100% safe. A lot of that backyard wrestling and emulated actions do tend to cause more injuries than they should. But despite my complaint about that one episode, I still think Creeped Out is an interesting show to watch. It's a weird show as an adult to watch, though, certainly. But that's kind of half my viewing habits in a nutshell, is that I'll watch some M-rated anime show, and then I'll watch a TV7 show. Carmen Sandiego Season 2 came out rather quickly. I was a little wondering about that as we start to see more Netflix original cartoons, is how fast can that content actually get made and put out, or is this going to be like Fox, where the Family Guy episodes or the Simpsons episodes take forever. I already beat enough bosses, but I guess we'll just do a full run here. We might as well. Since I got talking about Netflix. Family Guy did come back on TV. Their newest episode seems to be as average as a regular Family Guy episode is. It doesn't seem like it's doing too much new or old. It wasn't a good episode by any means. Interesting. So you can't, even with this, get 2 eye for an eyes. That stinks. Well, then I should have played this and then this. That would have been interesting. That would have got him down to a quarter of his stuff. Or maybe it would have killed him. Ooh, yeah. You might have a 10-turn 2-card combo here for a full game. Because if he has like 100 health and this did 50 damage, then doing it twice would do another 50 damage. Is there any way I could experiment with this and see if that actually works? So,
Ride the lightning!
Job's done.
yeah, I don't know. I'll probably talk a little bit more about Creeped Out. After today, I still need to do the U uploader, then I'll get back to playing Lego games. I got an interesting comment on my video about why are the Lego games not working. Somebody says that this is a known new Windows 10 thing. New being subjective, I'm sure, because it doesn't seem like it has been particularly new to me. Seems like it's something that's been pretty consistent since Windows 7 became Windows 10. I just responded, well, I had this fix, it worked for a while, and then I updated that video and said, well, this worked for a while. I'm still like just considering what I really want to do. Let's see what this does when he has 1 health. Does it round up or round down? Rounds up. Let's see. You draw 2 cards each turn. You are immune to fatigue. Start of the game, your attack of each minions equals its health. Enemies have -1 attack. I think I have 2 of those now. Let's see. Convert all but 1 of your health to armor. Cast each spell. I don't know why I'd want to do that. Bloodlust would not be bad. I'll take these.
How delightful. I shall endeavor to network, as they say.
I
Okay.
don't mind this whole traveling merchant thing.
Now we have
It's
3
kinda quaint.
pieces. Add all enemy minions, they cost 1 less. Not a bad option, but not a great one. Choose a friendly minion, discover a minion to replace it. Don't really want to do this. New starting hero power. Might be an improvement. Fill the tavern with new minions for 0. Remove all cards that cost 2 less. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that. So, new starting hero power. Let's see. Give a minion Divine Shield and Wind Fury. And then let's not add all of this.
Let's figure out what you need.
Instead, let's do this. I really only got an extra gold piece because they gave us the do the math card, which doesn't make sense. Alright. We'll take those, since that's the only thing that makes sense. And is there anything here we want to replace? Not really.
Careful out there.
So, yeah. Yeah, I feel like I have a little bit of a responsibility to watch Carmen Sandiego season 2, but they really changed the story there. And I know like a famous person is voice acting Carmen Sandiego, and apparently a famous person is voice acting in that game, Sayonara Wild Hearts, which is interesting, somewhat, but not really great news. Like, I've never been happy with the level of work you get out of actors trying to be voice actors. I'm also not very satisfied with how that really hurts the voice acting industry, which I think doesn't fully deserve to be replaced with famous actors and stunt hiring. That's some of the weirdness of Borderlands 3 in particular, is that there are definitely some people that were hired because they were famous to voice act, like Chris Hardwick, and thus they were also friends of Randy Pitchford.
That one? Okay.
But then there's also some union actors that didn't reprise their roles as the actor who played Reese, because they didn't want to go full union. And those probably are not, those are probably exclusive choices in a lot of ways. I would not be surprised one bit if going full union would have meant that they couldn't have hired Chris Hardwick. Let's start covering the news, though. Libretto has released version 1.7.9, version 2. I believe they may have even put out a hot patch after this version, which isn't super surprising. It's just an indication that they don't have a good upstream beta testing department procedure. Includes big quality of life improvements. The menu system supports touching gestures. They're going for more frequent, stable releases. So you can see there's a whole bunch of gestures here for touchscreens, which will be helpful in the RetroArch menu, which is pretty much the menu you won't spend much time on. Auto rotation of overlays when the orientation changes. I've right now experimenting with not using auto rotation on my phone at all, which is an interesting new thing. So instead of having it auto-rotate in the bottom of my Android phone, it just makes a little icon in the lower right point when I rotate my phone and asks if I want to rotate. And then I just leave it in locked portrait mode otherwise. And frankly, for as many times as I've accidentally, particularly when lying in bed at an angle, had my phone rotate on me in a way I didn't want it to rotate, I think just having to confirm it is better for me instead of just automatically doing it. It's weird to say that though, because usually confirmation boxes are annoying, but this is one of those instances where it isn't so much. Let's see. I can just get rid of things if I want to. Do I want to transform everything into a random Murloc? No, not really. Let's see, what else does RetroArch have? Faster AI AI service, faster image mode. The image mode should now be substantially faster. It now saves the image in memory via PNG format and passes it along the translation services. So they're just fixing the AI service, which is the service that takes a screenshot and then converts it to a different language or converts it to text. Both of those are functions that it can do. 2 damage to all non-Murlocs. Let's see. Do this. This, and this, and then this, that, do that, and then return. And I was not joking about really having no news, so
How much is this worth to you?
so this is not gonna take very long at all.
This guy's
Gamatsu has an article here. PC, PS4, and Switch. Blaze Blue Cross-Tag Battle DLC character Neapolitan, which is like an ice cream, isn't it? Trailer and overview of the Ruby character. So they're bringing in a Ruby character. Rooster Teeth, the parent company of Ruby, not doing great in the public eye these days, and Ruby is kind of old at this point. But I think Arc System Works is going to stick with them until their contract runs out. And this is a trailer that shouldn't be content ID'd, but we'll see. Blaze Blue clearly has other Ruby characters. I thought about playing the Ruby game that's on Steam. At this point, I don't think it has any relevancy. There certainly is a large instances of things looking like they're going to be big and them not really getting as big as you would have thought they would have gotten. Ruby is kind of one of those things in my mind where it was definitely big at one point, it's just not now. Those guys are so stuck at being 0 attack, I can kill them without taking any damage whatsoever. Let's see how this works. That was not smart. That was not smart at all.
Thank you.
And remember, we're playing against an AI and it still said thank you. So there clearly is some kind of evaluation that goes on at all times. So it actually acts more human. Add a horror to my hand. Can I do that and other things? Let's start with this. I guess this is probably the easiest thing to do. That. And then that. Then we'll play that.
No fair. You brought that treasure in with ya.
I did this.
Yeah. As far as BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, or one of the BlazBlue games, yeah, it still is on the list of fighter games. There frankly is a master list above the list of fighter games, which is clearly a list of types of games that I have not gotten around to even beginning to try to learn or play. And fighting games are certainly in that category. So kill that. That'll put one more thing on the field. Here we've got a double. I guess I could have hung around and seen if I could have played that card combo, but I didn't want to, so I didn't. Meanwhile, I think it's pretty obvious that we want more Murlocs. Tech Raptor has an article here. Green Hell Roadmap reveals upcoming features. Which Green Hell, I believe, is a survival game.
Creature made entirely of wind.
Doesn't particularly look like it's gonna be really anything. This is probably an advertisement in the form of news as far as Tech Raptor is concerned. I honestly am wondering just what happened this weekend that there was such a small amount of stuff that came out. It's really not Borderlands. I don't think it's Last of Us. I think Last of Us maybe comes out this week, if it comes out anytime soon.
Reporting for duty. Job's done.
So
Blown away.
oh good, there we go. Each minion swaps out a new character. I will take that. I'll buy that for $1. So I can just do this, and then odds are he's not gonna replace that guy, but even if he does, whatever. I've still got a ton of people. Well, that stunk. Okay.
Give that minion a moment to get ready.
Darn it.
Fly, you fools!
This is an interesting boss. I don't think I've ever fought this boss before. Yeah, it's not like this weekend would be the end of a quarter or anything. Well, maybe it is actually. October, November, December. It is, I guess, this weekend would have been around the time in general, around the end of a quarter. Let's see. That. That'll work. but otherwise, I can't think of any reason why we wouldn't have had bits of news or something said. This.
Who are we hitting today?
And this has Wind Fury already, so let's give this Wind Fury. And then let's play this.
Pray for mercy.
That.
Pray
That.
for mercy.
And get rid of that, I guess. Get rid of the Jade Golems just in case that's somehow going to affect things. If I could get these all to have Wind Fury on them, then extra attacks would be nice. Meanwhile, we have a game on Steam here called Breaking Mad. I assume this is just trying to be a name confusion for Breaking Bad, which is not a video game, but a TV show. It looks like a low-effort student project platforming game. It's 67 cents, which is an odd price. English only, with 5 achievements. There's really nothing here that puts us on a level of a modern game or the quality of a modern game. Let's see. And that. And then that. And then
That one? Okay. That one? Okay.
that. And that. What else can still attack? That. Anything else? Nope, it's green now. Suppose we did have one big bit of news from TechRaptor here. Red Dead Redemption 2 PC release date and Epic exclusivity announced. Let's see. It'll be exclusive to the Epic Store for a short time. Let's see. It's available for pre-order at the Epic Store, the Humble Store, GameStop, and additional retailers starting October 23rd with a pre-order bonus of 25 gold bars for Red Dead Online, which nobody's going to play. Red Dead Redemption 2 for PC will also be available for purchase this December. So you're talking at most 2 full months. Like if it's December 31st between October 23rd, you're barely going to have 2 full months there. There we go. What this doesn't really boil down to is when would Red Dead Redemption 1 come out on PC? We don't really have a date for that. Let's see. Summon 7 Murlocs, give them all rush at the start of your next turn, do it again. After this minion attacks, add 2 random healing spells to your hand, they cost 0. After your hero attacks a minion that survives, put a minion in your hand. I'm gonna go with the healing spells, I don't think any of those are particularly useful. Now, we're playing on Heroic, so this will be interesting to see how much health does this guy have. 300 instead of 100, or was it 300 before? Yeah, I think it was 300 before, so I really haven't run into anything that was super challenging here, playing on Heroic. So I don't know what it is that's going to make this Heroic worthy. I heard a rumor that Bully 2 was in development for 17 months. I assume right after Bully 1 came out, and then it just fizzled away. It makes some sense. Like, that's how most games go when they fizzle out, is that it would be a year and a half, basically. Almost a year and a half. That'd be 18 months. And then the project would either get canceled or allowed more funding to keep on being developed. The general idea was that Bully 2 would be a girl, perhaps girls. The stereotypical female bully is a bit more of a expert at bullying and psychological warfare, so you'd have to be a little bit harder. You'd have to work a little bit harder to write that well. The bully in Bully 1 really isn't a bully, so like there was a actual character there, so they would have had to do the same for it to kind of make sense and work. And if they didn't bother to do the same, then it would feel bad. It wouldn't be a good story. But also, I don't think there was a lot more story that could be told, because there's kind of no story to tell in Bully at all. It's just a kid's version of GTA that's still not going to be kid friendly, so they've hit their mark to begin with. Like, that's really what it boils down to, is that they really needed to realize. Remember, he also starts with like more cards when he gets below a increment of 100. There felt like there was this concept here that was never going to really work. That you were somehow going to be able to have a GTA style game be kid friendly, and you just can't, because what you've got to do is you've got to do something very Nintendo-y and have a game like Splatoon happen, but then you can't have the car stealing stuff. You can have Splatoon and paintball, sure, but you can't have the car stealing things. You can't have the beating up people things. There's
are more than the sum of our scales.
There's a lot of things that would have to happen that you just can't really happen. To have a game feel even slightly like a GTA game. Perhaps what you do instead is you focus on, I don't know what you do, frankly.
No matter, there are many more of us.
There's kind of a reason why no GTA style game has been super popular for kids. Yeah, if Nintendo hasn't figured it out, I don't think anybody could figure it out. And Rockstar certainly couldn't figure it out. I think inherently it's somewhat fair to say Rockstar also has a problem with its own culture, at least a little bit. I bet there isn't a lot of kid-friendly thinking creators there. If the games you've made are things like Red Dead Redemption and GTA, nobody's thinking about making something from the perspective of, would this be kid-friendly? And I would probably argue that they probably don't have a lot of like female-friendly thinking creators there either. Let's see. This. Get a couple more Murlocs on the field. And this. Get a couple more Murlocs on the field. The problem here is he's gonna just kill me. He's just gonna power through me and do 17 damage. Where I'm trying to make it to the 10th turn so I could play this and then the 7 mana spell. And he hurt himself doing that. He's got only one minion that even does 1 damage now. Okay. So do that. And what can we attack twice here? Just do that. Do that. That. Oh, this one does. Well, it doesn't matter. That. If I could get all of these with Wind Fury and then play Bloodlust, I could probably win that way too. After I get this down to less than 200.
More of us to grind your bones.
Yeah, I think you need something like the Hamburglar or something. You need to you need, if you're gonna play as a criminal, it would have to be a cutesy, silly criminal, not something that particularly was something that was a big deal. There, that'll help quite a bit. Okay. That. Double attack here. Really can't do anything else, so we'll kill that. And we'll play that just to get it off our field. Kill that. This and this. See, I need to get cards off the field more than anything else. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Moistenland, which looks like a low effort adventure game. Looks a little too asset flippy, doesn't look visually polished. Maybe it's not even asset flips, frankly. Just doesn't look polished. Like I'll take back the asset flip part because frankly, most of this looks like it may have been hand drawn. $5.39 discounted, English, German, Spain, Spanish, and Swedish.
We are ever shifting.
Does kind of have that European weirdness feel to it. But yeah, still a complete and total lack of polish. Alright. I can play this, and then play this, and then give this a that, and here we can just kill that, and then go ahead and kill this because this is like the only one that stays alive or has any damage to it. That one, and then that one. Do I want to really kill anything more, or should I wait? Because if I do any more damage, he's gonna go in a different direction. And let's just do it. Yeah.
Consume
Kill this.
that lives.
because that doesn't end my turn.
We have
And then
more suitable champions.
this and that, and we can just start smashing him in the face. Because we would like to win here. It would be crazy on the first attempt if we actually did win on heroic, but because I didn't even win on the first attempt on normal.
Our stone will grind your bones.
He just destroyed my Murloc. Did not realize that he was going to be able to do that. Okay. Do we have a 10th turn move? Here we go. Let's see if this works. The next spell you cast twice. Blow up half of your opponent's stuff.
Lightning
So this will do 84 damage once. Will it do 84 damage a second time?
Be weak. We will crush yours.
Cast the spell again. $42. Alright, well, it does half it twice, but in the bad way, not the way I had hoped. But this is super easy now. This is just shuffle everything into his hand, which he'll almost certainly do. But I think I've got this, because I just need to really cast this. Put, let's say, this here, and then give this. And then you've got 24 damage here, and 9 damage there, which I could have done again, plus some other characters. I'm really surprised that was that. I may end up just having to play things off screen.
We did it! One plague lord is destroyed. Others remain.
So that oddly opens the door, if we get any more daily quests on my main account, to do more of these things. And you get the same end animation image, even though I beat it with Sir Murloc. Alright, well, that's a little surprising. That's the most amount of progress I have ever made, I think, in any of the solo adventure. I'm glad that was done on my main account. But meanwhile, no Hunter, no Paladin cards played at all. So I need to play something here. So Paladin, ranked play, let's go. Because I have that daily quest, and then again, I think at this rate we probably will just, I will just probably play off screen and save my voice a little bit more for today.
Versus Uther.
We have a game here on Steam called Horse First
I will
Trip,
command the light.
which looks like a Russian platforming game of some sort, and that's pretty much all I can say. I'm not going to call it immediately a Russian troll game or anything like that, but it does just seem like it's kind of a generic platforming game with maybe a little bit of polish. But look at the way this trailer plays, where it's just zooming in and zooming out and tilting the screen. This is clearly to either disorient yourself, or if the game really plays like that, that's going to make your motion sick like crazy. But I think it's probably to hide the fact that there's very little game here. So it's $4.99. It's English and Russian. I don't really believe the English part of that, because none of these screenshots seem to be showing anything about anything in English. In fact, there's a screenshot here with a international phone number, which I wonder if they are trying to do some kind of tip line shenanigans, where you call that number and then you get charged a ridiculous charge on your cell phone bill. That would be a new kind of scam for sure. Yeah, charge 99 cents per minute or something like that. $2.99 a minute.
Converting stored energy.
Job's done.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I'm really surprised that I was able to beat that Plague Lord with no challenge at all. It's probably just a great indication of just how much of that is just crazy luck. But it just comes down to what treasures you get and what helps you and what doesn't. I saw Creperian. He found the way to get infinite tavern visits using the Hearthstone, and so then he also had the feature, the card where it did damage at the very beginning of the game. So he would play a Hearthstone, go back to the tavern during the final battle. It would do like 60 damage to the Plague Lord. Then he would start a new game. It would do the 60 damage again, and then he'd start another game using the Hearthstone each time to go back to the tavern. Which that's an interesting shenanigans he was able to get up to. But he probably spent way too much time setting it up, and it's not a realistic strategy for an average player.
Your magic shall not save you.
Next we have a game on Steam called Incoming Evil, and this is just the epitome of dark screenshot syndrome. Like, even if I really believe this wasn't just a horror asset flip game, which I'm fairly certain it is so incredibly dark. And this isn't just by my standards, which maybe my screen is a little bit dark. I'll admit that. There might be some truth to that. Like, this is pitch blackness. $3.99, English only, 3 achievements. Yeah, I would not put this on the fall list. Definitely not gonna put it on the fall list. I've actually had a good run recently of Steam not logging me out of my of the Chrome browser, which is nice. That was getting to be annoying, to say the least, of just how many different times I'd have to, on a weekly basis, log back in. Next we have a game on Steam here called Dungeons of the Fallen. It looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter game. It looks so fast-paced that the frame rate is actually stuttering. It also looks a lot like an RPG Maker game, even though that's not what it is, but it's kind of the same kind of graphics. It's already mixed. It's $8.99 discounted, and has Chinese below Polish as the language choice. So I assume that this is either a cheap Russian or a cheap Chinese developed game. Regardless, it doesn't look particularly interesting, so it's not making it to the fall list. I have so little games here. I think this might be might be the first week ever where absolutely nothing goes to the fall list whatsoever. And that's not a terrible idea, frankly. I would not be upset with a few weeks out of the year where that was just the standard turn of events.
Let's go! Let's go!
where, but I doubt we'd get more than 3 weeks out of 52 in which absolutely nothing comes out. Too many games usually come out. Unless Steam has done something, has Valve secretly, without telling anybody, put their foot down finally on garbage games? It wouldn't really make sense. We have games like this, Climb Out, which is a looks like a Commodore game. I was looking at some of the Commodore 64 games, and you know, some of them even look way better than what comes out on Steam by modern standards. And Commodore 64 is not the standard to hold games to. At the very least, the minimum of quality of your game should be better than Super Mario Bros. 3, in my opinion. Like, if your game doesn't look as good as Super Mario Bros. 3 and play as well as Super Mario Bros. 3, then your game should not be allowed on Steam. And Climb Out is a great example of this. This is a student project. This is a tech demo. This is not something that should be on Steam storefront for 99 cents. It has a third-party EULA and 6 achievements. But again, just no reason whatsoever that would be allowable. I'm about to lose, and I'm not really playing Paladin cards. I need to switch it up. Let's see. Next, we have an article from TechRaptor. Apex Legends Halloween event may be coming. TechRaptor was right about the Batman event, so I'm sure there's a good chance that they'll be right about that too. I doubt any parents that are letting their little kids play Fortnite is going to really care about them celebrating Halloween. Oh, well, actually, this is Apex Legends. So Fortnite, they were talking about Fortnite before. I've confused the two games in my head. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if any kind of MMO or what, I don't even know what Fortnite and Apex Legends really are called. They're not MMOs, they're player versus player battle royale games. That's what they're like, battle royale games. Yeah. I had to think about it for a second. It totally makes sense that a battle royale game would have a Halloween event. Any game that's still going on, that's still trying to have an active player base, is going to have a Halloween event, almost certainly. So, how many Paladin cards did that really play? 6. Let's come over here and try this. And we might as well just play ranked. Like, even though we have 500 wins, we're now trying to get to like 1,000, so that's probably never going to happen. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Pegue, P-A-G-U-E, Pegue. I don't know how you pronounce this in Chinese, and this is pretty obviously a horror Chinese game. It does have some visual polish to it as I'm watching this trailer. It probably is mostly a horror game, but now it doesn't look like a horror game. Now it looks like it's a player versus player game. And it looks very fast paced. I have no idea what kind of game this is, because it started off showing me what looked like a horror adventure game where this boy is just walking around and showing off different things. Then you see this boy and he meets this old man, and then you see these monsters and puzzles. Seems like it's all over the place, and I suspect that probably means that it's not really much of a game at all. I'll put it on the fall list and we'll see. It's not even out yet, so I don't know what happened there. You can see it's English and traditional Chinese with full audio, and that almost certainly is an indicator that that it's it's going to be more Chinese centric, and maybe it's going to be a bad Chinese game, but maybe it's going to be one of the few rare good Chinese games. Next we have a game on Steam that's just a bunch of Asian characters. It's tagged RPG indie drama. To me it looks like it's a Chinese visual novel, to me, with actual kissing in the screenshot, which is surprising. Kissing twice. You don't even see that really in Japanese visual novels, in the screenshots at least. In a weird way, this is the weird thing about porn in general, is that you see very few instances in porn or adult material of people kissing, hugging, as much as you would think. It's just straight to the actual copulation. So there's a lot of lack of foreplay, for lack of a better, well, for using the accurate term. So in most depictions, which undoubtedly leads people astray on how they should perform in their own lives when sleeping with someone. This game is $1.99, which makes it really cheap, and we can see it's English full audio with no support. Well, no, it's Chinese full audio with no support for English, with 24 achievements. So this one's not even trying to target any other region. The animation's not bad. It's decent. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not translated, and still questionable, to say the least, whether that gets past the Chinese censorship board, which we haven't really heard anything said negative about the Chinese censorship process for games in quite a long time. Maybe we're just about to get a new wave of approvals, but I also feel like the people's social credit scores were getting reduced, or they were getting threatened every time they complained about the censorship board. So now the censorship board is not getting complained about. That is my tinfoil hat speculation on what happened there, because certainly some companies would be complaining, even if they had done just a much better job about saying these games are not going to be allowed for these reasons. This gives you a solid, understandable way to figure out whether your game's going to be approved or not, with no confusion and no surprise.
Converting stored energy.
Because even at that, there would still be people complaining.
Access denied.
I did also hear a rumor that they're going. I saw a story. I don't know if I'd call it a rumor or not. That Chinese people are going to now be required to put their face in front of a video camera to get internet access at all, as part of the social credit system. And apparently South Park consulted China, so now all of South Park is banned inside of China and via the Great Firewall. And they definitely were going to say that one of the punishments they were going to inflict on people they didn't like was a lack of access to the internet, which the UN, being toothless, admittedly the UN is toothless, but they have pushed for, or if not come to the conclusion, that internet access is a basic human right and you can't take it away from people completely. Now, you could probably limit it severely, but I think the push is at least you can have some access to some internet sites. Prisoners in the United States, for instance, are allowed usually some internet access, but not usually all of it. see. That was a mistake because I could have done this first, then made a copy of myself.
Let's go!
Next we have a game on Steam called The Chasm, which looks like it's a horror / Minecraft clone. Seems like it's just a garbage asset flip game to me.
I can
$7.99, English only. Again, not making it to the follow list. I kind of wish something new was out. Like, it almost feels like the reason why we don't have a lot of reviews and a lot of games coming out is because so many people were not allowed early access to Borderlands 3 that they're now playing Borderlands 3. That's probably not really the case. I would suspect that a lot of people are actually playing early access. A lot of the video game journalists are playing early access, I suspect, of Last of Us 2. And by this time, either in a couple days or by this time next week at the latest, we'll have reviews for Last of Us 2 coming out. And I guess it was just a tactical decision on the part of everybody else to not release anything between Last of Us 2 and Borderlands 3, which was a good move because either one of those games could have moved a week early, a week later, and if you don't want that competition, you don't want that competition.
Job's done.
But it certainly left me with very little to talk about here. And I've stretched this out to 2 hours long, but I don't think we're going to make it to 3 hours. And I don't think we're really going to do anything other than just pop into the RPN account and say, yeah, we have this daily quest to do, and I'll do it off screen. We have a game here on Steam called Pandora, which is not Pandora. And I don't know if there is a word called Pandora and if that's spelled right. You have an anime girl in black and white, and then you have what looks like it's mostly just a low effort black and white student project of a shoot 'em up game. Yeah. An attempt to animate things here, but then you've got like MS Paint animation here, and then you've got an anime girl here. It's kind of all over the place as far as what kind of game this is. $3.39 discounted English and Japanese subtitles, but no Japanese interface. Yep, this looks like a low effort game. Frankly, I don't think you're going to potentially catch the attention of any audience by drawing things in black and white without that being a heavy art style that you really know what you're doing with. Frankly, a shoot 'em up game in particular is not story based enough for a black and white style game. If you're doing black and white, it's got to be either a puzzle game or a noir detective story or something that really would evoke a reason to be in black and white. And I don't even give that lenience to Game Boy games. If you're making a Game Boy game, you should be making a Game Boy Color game at the minimum, if not the equivalent of a Game Boy Advance game or something like that. Let's see. So yeah, Pandora not making it to the fall list. Yeah, we only have like 3 more games to look at and several other articles, and then that's it. This may be the stream where nothing makes it to the fall list at all. Next we have a game on Steam called Dual Blade Battle of the Female Ninja. This sounds Chinese to me. It looks kind of interesting, but it also kind of looks like this is one of those Chinese projects that designs itself to look interesting and then doesn't really have a final product. This is $4.49. It's English only. They're telling you the controls inside the description, which makes me think that there is no tutorial or menu options. They're showing you a loading screen in the trailer. This looks janky. This looks like just a janky tech demo. Tech demos, when they're in 3D, when they're Unreal Engine type games, they do look a little bit more like a game. And so I guess I'll put this on the fall list, and break the streak. But in all honesty, if I was gonna bet, I would clearly bet that this is not going to be a good product.
Access denied. Access denied.
And then hit that. And then return. And the idea that there's just kind of nothing happening is kind of confirmed here with this TechRaptor article. Is Columbus Day like in the United States? I think it's next Monday, but it might be this Monday. Today might be Columbus Day. No, I'm fairly certain it's next week. So there's really no justification for it being this slow this weekend. Next weekend, maybe, but Columbus Day is really not that big of a deal, at least to me. So yeah, I just have no clue what's going on as far as why a sleepy weekend that I had turned into a sleepy weekend that everybody else had. I ordered some Halloween candy, and man, the price on Amazon.com is like double what it was last year. So who knows what tariffs on sugar went in place and what, but like the exact same candy things I ordered last year, like double the price. And that really sucks, certainly. My income didn't double, most people's income didn't double. Doesn't have anything to do with video games, though. TechRaptor has this article, Borderlands 3 Maw's Bloodletter Tank DPS Build Overview. So there's like a special article here just talking about a specific build that they suggest in Borderlands 3. So it seems like people like Borderlands 3. Jim Sterling came out and said he liked Borderlands 3, which is certainly something that's kind of surprising, considering how much he doesn't like Randy Pitchford or Gearbox in general. I think specifically he doesn't like Randy Pitchford. But I have to give him credit for giving credit where credit was due. He also came out and said he loved Code Vein, which, again, I don't know, maybe this is just an example of Jim Sterling swinging between two extremes, one way or another. Alright, Paladin class cards. Still not really making great progress through all of that. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Candle Underwater, which is a platforming game where I think you lower and raise water, and then you're a walking candle of sorts, trying to light this yellow stick as another candle. It looks like a simplistic platforming game with one gimmick, which is more than most platforming games have, but not really worth $4.99. English only, no achievements. These little arcade games, like, I just don't think they're ever gonna work on in modern time. I don't want to say TechRaptor, that's not the right guy. Who is Sid Alpha? Yeah, Sid Alpha came out and had a video that I watched where he talked about if the French ruling on Steam really did require people to be able to sell games, how it would have potentially a lot of unintended consequences and a lot of losers as much as winners for the consumers. Very quickly you would see perhaps you would see a lot less low effort garbage games on Steam because it would stop being profitable. I don't know if it's really profitable now though, and I think there's just a misunderstanding between people who make these low effort games and think they'll make some money off of them and what really happens. But you also might see a lot of indie developers get disheartened and not make their games anymore. Frankly, that's you kind of have to be a psychopath to make a indie game in the first place if you're not going to be crazy enough to see it all the way through just because you feel like there's less of a chance of making money, then you're in the wrong business. If you want to make money, be a banker. Like any other career than an indie game developer, be an accountant, be a CPA, be a tax person, flip burgers at McDonald's. Any of those will make you more money guaranteed than what can be guaranteed as far as being an indie game developer. If you're going to be an indie game developer, it's because you've got at least one passion project in your head that you want to see to fruition. And that is part of the problem I often have when I hear about these indie devs complaining about their games not being visible, their games not being successful. Artists really should... society's not set up this way to feed artists who are satisfied by completing their work, but artists should just really be satisfied that they complete their work. And it's a shame what's going on with Kickstarter right now because frankly Kickstarter, as bad as it was, did open up a door for something like patronage. Like Patreon is also a great example of this, where people pay artists, pay indie game developers to make their games instead of people making their games and then hoping to recoup the costs of living while developing the game later on. But we definitely could see a lot less indies on Steam if there was a way to sell back games. I think the market's value of a lot of indie games would drop to zero within hours of it being implemented too. I think you would have marketplaces just full of copies of games that nobody wants to buy ever. And they'll just be listed. And the Steam Marketplace is already kind of like that. There's like 100 things I have on sale on the marketplace that nobody wants to buy at the price I've set. Like, that's just kind of supply and demand. With the exception of Team Fortress knife skins and hats, most of the things on the Steam Marketplace barely ever sell, barely ever move anywhere. So that would be the ultimate result here, is that with some rare exceptions, almost all games would never sell. And you would be back to a GameStop scenario where you go into a GameStop and they offer you $1.50 for a game that you paid for $60, and it just becomes disheartening and frustrating. That's really where the marketplace would land, is go look at how much money you think you can actually get from GameStop for your games, and divide that into by at least half, and that will be at the maximum how much you would get selling on the Steam storefront. Probably a lot less than even that. It really would boil down to close to zero. Even if Steam made it super easy for you to buy games used, I don't think you would still have a lot of movement. It might change the Steam sales quite a bit though if you were on a game's page and below its new price was a price that was selling for 59 cents. Like if a $60 game was really selling for $5, and that offer was shown to you and you alone for the next like 5 minutes, well, it doesn't actually have to be shown to you, it's just shown to everybody until you would kind of have to delay it, because if you showed 20 people a game for $5 that's usually 60, I think 15 of those people would try and buy it, and then you'd click the button and go, oh, you didn't move fast enough. So you would almost have to make it an exclusive offering, and it would basically boil down to auctioning the game off. But yeah, I'd recommend watching Sid Alpha in general, but that specific conversation or thought process he was having about it, I think was a little bit more thoughtful than most news reporters who just kind of dryly repeated the same things that everybody else had to say about it. And it's not going to happen anytime soon. It'll be appealed forever, and it seems like the fines that Steam would incur by just ignoring the order completely would be less than they would lose even in a year. So unless there's a implement in the legal system to increase those fines or continue them forever, even if continuing forever they may be still so low that the Valve doesn't care. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article. Gris has been rated for the PS4 in Europe. Gris is